Good evening. My name is Cindy Zhang, the Director General, and I am honored to begin the closing ceremonies of CAHSMUN 2022. Since our inaugural iteration 18 years ago, CAHSMUN has come to the forefront of Model UN in the Lower Mainland, striving to provide an educational experience for its participants year-round. While this year's event was certainly different, we hope that the core of our mission was delivered nonetheless. Before all else, I would like to thank you all, on behalf of the CAHSMUN team, for pouring your heart and soul into the conference. Without the delegates, staff team, or sponsor teachers, CAHSMUN would not be what we are today. Whether you were at the front of debate or silently supporting others, we thank you for your contribution to the event. Now, as a graduating senior, I'd like to share a story with you. I joined Model UN as a timid 8th grader who struggled with social anxiety. Albeit it was done with some coercion, I cannot describe how walking into room 214 at Fraser Heights Secondary transformed my life. During my first year, I attended Pacific Mun and CAHSMUN 2018 and spoke only once each weekend. I remember how I wanted to go back to my hotel room and cry after the first committee session because I had so many ideas to share, but couldn't find my voice. This went on until grade 9 during the first conference of the year. I distinctly remember sitting in a classroom at Little Flower Academy in a small committee, about 20 people total. A senior from my school kept sending me notes, encouraging me to speak and giving me advice every time I made a speech. Before I knew it, I was winning my first gavel that year at CAHSMUN. So here's the moral of the story. Think of life as an onion. Don't live it in one layer. Rather, peel back the layers with patience and discover something new each time. You will shed tears along the way and might give up because it's not worth the pain or struggle, but just know that what is waiting for you at the end will be worth it. To all the delegates, I hope that you have found something worthwhile and motivating at CAHSMUN. Something that won't make you stop, wondering if it's worth it to continue. You have leapt several hurdles to discuss global issues that even world leaders have yet to solve, and are truly becoming the leaders of tomorrow. To the staff, I would like to extend a genuine thank you for devoting hundreds of hours and weekends to this extracurricular. These past few years have been especially precarious, and it is your spirit that keeps Model UN alive. And finally, to my secretariat team, thank you for being my second family. Now, please welcome Athena Law, our Chief of Staff, to deliver her remarks.
Thank you, Cindy. My name is Athena Law, and it has been my absolute honor this year to have served as Chief of Staff for CAHSMUN 2022. It is without a doubt that each and every one of us, staff, secretariat, and delegate alike, have come a long way this past year, hovering on the brink of overcoming our new normal. However, if there is one thing that I can describe this team as, it is that we are per volar sonata, born to soar through all the hurdles that we have encountered. This being said, I would not be here today without my team, whom I truly have to thank for joining me along for this wonderful journey. Staff, thank you for sticking with us over the past year as we navigated through the details of inaugural committees such as the Extemporary Crisis Committee and the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group. I remember when I first created the staff roster. I stressed over who would help each committee, making constant shifts and sending hundreds of messages into our secretariat group chat, worried that each team's dynamic wouldn't work out. I'm relieved to say that my decisions could not have been better, and that the hours that I have put in were worth it. From the moment you joined the interview room where you assigned us each to Disney princesses, to our staff trainings where no one could come up with a good joke, I knew that each of you would help make CAHSMUN the best iteration yet. Delegates, I hope that this weekend has allowed you to develop a newfound interest in diplomacy and debate, that you made a new friend, made a speech that you were proud of, or learned more about the world around you. I hope that by engaging with your DISEC team and your committee, the staff have helped you find your voice, perhaps even inspired you to apply for a staff or secretariat position at our upcoming iteration. Most of all, however, I'd like to thank the ones that have stuck with me since day one, my USG committees and the rest of the secretariat team. There is no one else that I would rather soldier along this path with and sit on 6-hour-long Zoom calls for. This year has been a wild ride, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. There are two people, however, that I'd like to mention in particular. Austin, thank you for being so patient with directors and for keeping us on our toes despite being cooked at every substantive meeting. though you ended up being right about my overambitious backgrounder editing timeline and many other things. We swam swiftly through all the backgrounders and ended up successfully editing all of them. Will, while I still don't understand how you could spell dethrone as dethorn, your unfailing ability to pull consequent all-nighters have saved our team. Maybe it was the ramen that helped you sleep so late. I suppose I'll never find out how. And now, on to the substantive side of things. This year, CAHSMUN hosted 18 committees, ranging from general assemblies like the World Health Organization, to regional bodies such as the East Asia Summit, to specialized agencies such as the Security Council, to crisis committees such as FCC discussing Kingsman. Each committee was guided in their discussion by dedicated staff members from across North America, undergoing successes and challenges alike as they emerge with comprehensive, well-debated resolutions. I will now hand it off to Austin to introduce each of the General Assemblies and regional bodies.
Thank you, Athena. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Austin, and I have had the distinct honor of serving as the Undersecretary General of General Assemblies for the 18th iteration of CAHSMUN. In the early planning stages of the conference, the substantive team set out to craft a committee lineup, unprecedented in the number of new and unorthodox committees. From the first ever C40 Cities Leadership Climate Group, where delegates represented the mayors of cities instead of countries, to the Extemporary Crisis Committee, where delegates were charged with the task of solving a crisis with no prior preparation. It is our sincere hope that you, the delegates, were able to take advantage of our prepared topics and committees, ultimately leaving the conference with a greater international consciousness of the issues that plague our world. Now, some thank yous are due. The directors. With numerous staff meetings, rounds of edits, and assignments, the task of a director should not be perceived lightly. I'm so proud of all of you for sticking with us to the end, ultimately allowing the conference to run so smoothly. You guys are some of the nicest, knowledgeable, and hardworking people I know, and I wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to you all. The chairs. Thank you for your kindness and patience with moderating debate and explaining MUN to novice delegates. The chairs are the lifeblood of any committee, and your efforts are truly appreciated. The flex staff. Thank you for stepping in and helping out when things don't always go as planned. Your contributions ultimately allowed us to push through the conference without a hitch. The substantive team, Athena. I have never met someone with a greater work ethic and all-in dedication than you. Your sleep schedule regimen, though now sort of disrupted, and your academic prowess can attest to that. And William, you're the best fellow USG of committees and friend I could ever ask for. Thank you both for all of your advice and guidance and the help and the background writing process. And to my secretariat team. I truly love and appreciate all of you guys, and I'm so happy to have played a part in this team. Without further ado, I would like to call up the General Assemblies and regional bodies to announce their awards. All in all, please do not allow awards to disincentivize your future participation in MUN. MUN is so much bigger than awards, so I implore you to look past it. If you already learned something new during the conference, you have already won. I would now like to call up the dais of the Disarmament and International Security Committee.
Good afternoon. My name is CAHSMUN XVIII, and I am the Director of the Disarmament International Security Committee. Throughout this conference, DISEC discussed lethal autonomous weapons systems and the weaponization of big data, two topics that are extremely pressing in our modern world. The dais was impressed by all the delegates of our committee. They were well-spoken, composed, collaborative, and knowledgeable. Despite the odd heated exchange between the United States and Burundi, the committee had a lot of fun discussing our topics. And we were proud of the level of diplomacy achieved over the course of the weekend. We had our fair share of laughs and memorable moments, from Libya's creative adjective suggestions to the 500 Amendment to the second draft resolution for laws, to the USA constantly humbling the dais with his points of inquiry. Each and every person in that room contributed to making the weekend as unique and enjoyable as it was. I also wanted to take a second to thank my chairs, George Sun and Emily Sui, as well as the very adaptable Caitlin Jewell, for their professionalism, their patience, and their poise. I sincerely could not have done it without them, and I truly appreciate their contributions. Now, for the moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for, I would like to recognize a few delegates who especially stood out to us. For Best Position Paper, we would like to recognize Guinea. For honorable mentions, we would like to recognize China, as well as the Russian Federation. For our outstanding delegate, we would like to recognize the Netherlands. And finally, Best Delegate is awarded to Libya. Thank you.
I would now like to call up the dais of the Social, Cultural, and Humanitarian Committee.
Although the Social, Cultural, and Humanitarian Committee may be the third committee of the United Nations General Assembly, it certainly comes second to none in my heart. Throughout this past weekend, the exemplary delegates of this committee explored the intricate realms of social diversity and equality, all while devising a multitude of complex solutions towards the topics of religious persecution and the online exploitation of minors. Though the DISEC team struggled helplessly to merge nearly identical blocks, navigate the elaborate platform that is Zoom, and pronounce Azerbaijan, a country name that I'm likely butchering at this moment, the past 3 days facilitating SOCHUM at CAHSMUN 2022 has indisputably been some of the most rewarding throughout the entirety of our MUN careers. The delegates in this committee were ever engaged in fruitful debate and discussion, consistently showcasing a passion for diplomacy that I've found is quite difficult to encounter. Best of all, the DISEC team was never forced to threaten reverting back to the secondary speakers list, a miracle that I found even more unlikely to come across. Of course, it goes without saying that the success of this committee was nothing without the support and excellency of our two chairs, Winnie Song and Joseph Ye. Winnie, your thorough understanding of ROP, and most importantly voting procedure, was what enabled this committee to run as smoothly as it did. And Joseph, your exceptional chairman skills and ability to guide UNMODs were unparalleled, and for that I am extremely grateful. With that said, thank you sincerely to my incredible chairs who acted as the backbone of this committee. Delegates, now comes the difficult and always anticipated announcement of awards. Though I must stress that, regardless of the result, you should all be immensely proud of yourselves, each other, and the amazing contributions that you as a committee have made in addressing these unequivocally pertinent global issues. Keep in mind that awards are not a measure of your success or abilities as a delegate. No matter what the outcome, I hope that you leave this conference feeling satisfied, having learned valuable skills, formed wonderful friendships, and if not already, a newfound interest in SOCHUM and Model United Nations as a whole. With that being said, Best Position Paper goes to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Honorable mentions go to Canada and Greece. Outstanding Delegate goes to Vietnam, and Best Delegate goes to Singapore. While I am saddened to say that the weekend has come to an end, thank you to the DISEC team and the incredible delegates for making it ever worthwhile.
I would now like to call up the dais of the World Health Organization.
Good afternoon, delegates, sponsor teachers, fellow staff members, and the Secretariat. Welcome to the glorious World Health Organization at the 18th iteration of CAHSMUN, or the charitable, administrative, House of Strategic, Mutually Understanding Nations, as one block referenced. It is my pleasure to serve as the World Health Organization's director. Today, I am with Angel Lee and Yichen Lee, my fellow brilliant staff members. I would like to start off by thanking both Angel and Yichen for their enthusiasm, passion, and dedication to both MUN, our committees, and our delegates. I'm sure all delegates truly appreciate your efforts and contributions. Over the course of the weekend, we discussed multiple topics: respiratory diseases by air pollution and infant diseases and malnutrition. And of course, a one-of-a-kind mourning crisis. From our lowly 38% in Sporkel's infamous Name the Countries quiz to the numerous subtle references of Gandhi and Mao Zedong in moderated caucus speeches, I've witnessed all delegates grow in so many ways, especially our beginner delegates who have never experienced a delegate social, mourning crisis, or even passing a resolution paper. I'm so sorry your first experience was so traumatic when we had to repeat voting procedure 4 times, even to get one resolution paper to pass, though we eventually reached a consensus. This weekend, every delegate truly blew my expectations, sticking with the debate and ROP no matter how many times I misreferenced a resolution paper as a position paper. While this marks a sad conclusion of one fabulous CAHSMUN 2022, it symbolizes many firsts for us. From my first time directing at a hotel conference, to our delegates' first experiences in MUN, I hope it continues to foster your growth and progression in the world of diplomacy. As Gandhi once said, be the change you want to see.
Now the DISEC team would like to recognize a few individuals who stood out throughout the weekend, whether that be through camaraderie, intricate speeches, leadership in unmods, or vision in resolution papers. Every delegate delivered something in each of these aspects, and we truly applaud this effort. We have to iterate how challenging these choices were.
With that said, the DISEC team would like to reiterate that awards are not the pinnacle of delegating. Instead, these are the memories, lifelong lessons, and friendships that you take away from this conference. So, without further ado,
Best position paper goes to Vietnam.
Honorable mention goes to Ecuador and Austria.
outstanding delegate goes to Ukraine.
And finally, our best delegate for the WHO committee this year goes to South Sudan.
I would now like to call up the dais of the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group.
Dear delegates, staff, sponsor teachers, and honored guests. My name is Yurei Tao, and I have had the absolute privilege of serving as the director of the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group for this past iteration of CAHSMUN. Throughout the weekend, we embarked on two multifaceted topics: waste management and preserving blue carbon ecosystems through sustainable cities. From San Francisco's opening speech being one that modified the lyrics of Never Gonna Give You Up to rickroll the committee, to the intense deliberation on plastic regulation that ultimately resulted in a well-planned compromise, the C40 has hosted memorable debate and fruitful discussion. This weekend, however, would have been truly impossible without my staff team. To my chair, Claire, your organization and attention to detail covered all the areas that I had overlooked. To my other chair, Hugo, your diligence and energy in guiding the committee and your steady hand at operating chairman allowed this committee to flow seamlessly. To my flex staff, Prad, your versatility and zeal allowed this committee to be the antithesis of tedious. Thank you all for undertaking this journey with me. Most importantly, I would also like to extend a thank you to all of my delegates. From engaging in nuanced dialogue to staying in breakout rooms to work on draft resolutions during your scheduled breaks, your dedication and enthusiasm has truly transformed the conference. Your extensive analyses and passion in navigating two pressing issues paramount to cities have made this weekend a dynamic experience to direct. I commend each and every one of you for your effort and hard work. With that being said, there are a couple of delegates I would like to recognize. For their consistency and leadership, Best Position Paper goes to the delegation of Beijing. For their collaborative spirit and avidity, honorable mention goes to the delegation of Oslo. For their eloquence and insightful solutions, outstanding delegate goes to the delegation of Boston. And for their thoughtful remarks and diplomatic skill, best delegate goes to the delegation of Washington, D.C. Thank you.
I would now like to call up the dais of the East Asia Summit.
Good afternoon, delegates, sponsor teachers, secretariat, and staff. My name is Rachel Wang, and I have the honor of serving as director for the East Asia Summit at CAHSMUN 2022. This weekend, our committee discussed two complex topics: combating organized crime and human trafficking in East Asia. I was extremely impressed by the extensive detail each delegate gave in their speeches and resolutions. Despite there only being 8 delegates in the committee, there was never one silence in the committee room. From Russia A's plethora of abbreviations to China B's attempt to bargain with the CNN, the committee was, to say the least, always full of surprises. From oddly specific speaking time ratios, rickrolls, and even a presentation inspired by Attack on Titan, I can confidently say that you've all made my directorship experience the best one yet. Now to my chairs, Jenna and Alex. You both are the backbones of the committee. You are both there to cover my blind spots and there to resolve every logistical or tech issue that I would have no doubtedly missed. Without your quick thinking, insightful feedback, and commanding presence, none of this would have been possible. No words would be enough to express my gratitude, but I'm very grateful to have gone on this journey with both of you. Thank you. Now to the delegates of the EAS. I was blown away by your brilliant solutions, commendable speeches, and eagerness to learn. I would confidently call each and every one of you political geniuses, and I hope this experience has been as impactful for you as it has for me. Now, awards are far from the most important part of the Model UN experience. This may sound cheesy, but if I really could, I would give each and every one of you an award because you all by far surpassed my expectations. Regardless of the outcome, you all should be proud of what you've accomplished over the weekend. Nevertheless, the awards are as follows. Outstanding Delegate goes to Russia B, Best Delegate goes to Russia A, and finally, Best Delegation goes to the Philippines. Thank you all for attending the EAS. Godspeed.
Thank you, Austin. Now, I would like to call on William to introduce the specialized agencies and crisis committees.
Thank you, Athena. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is William Wang, and I've had the pleasure to serve as your Undersecretary General of Specialized Agencies for CAHSMUN 2022. Having set out to create a substantive program that is diverse, inclusive, and unique, it brings joy to my heart as I see delegates vehemently debating about workplace discrimination in UN Women, or passionately taking on the role of fictional spies and diplomats within FCC. To that, I applaud you delegates, who have made this conference ever so memorable through your eager participation and stunning speeches. However, none of this would have been possible without our amazing staff members either. Over the past weekend, you have served as the anchor within your respective committees and acted as a guiding light to your delegates. Directors, thank you for taking our vision and morphing it into a reality within the committee room. Chairs, thank you for your efforts at maintaining decorum within your committees and guiding delegates through the proper rules of procedures. Flex staff and secretariat aides, thank you for helping out whenever you are needed and assisting in running this conference. Without a doubt, I'm confident that your efforts this past weekend have helped to bring out the best in every delegate. And finally, the secretariat team. Where do I even begin? The past months of preparing for today will certainly be an experience that I won't forget, and I couldn't have asked for a better team. I especially appreciate you all for sticking with me despite my constant departures from our group chats and meetings. Austin, my substantive duo, thank you for accompanying me in the creation of this year's substantive program. Cindy, although we've had our grudges since I first met you at my second ever conference, your companionship throughout this journey still marks a highlight of my Model UN journey. And Athena, despite your questionable food preferences, I couldn't have asked for a better and more attentive chief to work with. As I conclude on the last speeches I will ever give in my Model UN journey, I think that each and every one of you delegates and staff have demonstrated your potential to make the world a better place on equal footing, to learn today and lead tomorrow. With that being said, it is time for me to hand over the reins to our directors. I would now like to call up the dais of the United Nations Development Program.
Hello, my name is Emily Lau, and I had the honor of directing the United Nations Development Program this weekend. This weekend's conference has been phenomenal, with excellent debate, brilliant diplomacy, and creative ideas. I would like to extend my overwhelming gratitude to my delegates, staff team, and secretariat team for making this conference one to remember. To my chairs Eric Lee and Angus Liu, as well as my Flex staff Caitlin Jewell, thank you for your unwavering support and constantly entertaining conversations. To the Secretariat team, thank you for your guidance through the entire directing process. And to my delegates, thank you for the diplomacy and the chaos, the serious speeches and the funny ones, and for making this committee the absolute best. From internationally isolating the United States to Nigeria's pet Ewok, whatever that was, you all made this conference fun, memorable, and mostly diplomatic. I am so incredibly proud of each and every one of you. Now for the awards. I know you're going to hear this all the time, but it doesn't make it any less true. Although awards commend great public speaking and ideas, they are not the full measure of who you are as a person, nor the most important thing at a conference. The true best things about conferences are the memories you make, the friends you keep in touch with for years, the experience and practice you get. And I hope in that aspect, all of you will have one today. This weekend's awards are as follows. Best Position Paper goes to the Delegation of Thailand. Honorable mention goes to the delegation of Italy. Outstanding delegate goes to the delegation of China. And best delegate goes to the delegation of the United States of America. Thank you once again to my staff, delegates, and secretariat for making this weekend's conference breathtaking, extraordinary, and brilliantly phenomenal.
I would now like to call up the dais of the Business Committee.
Dear delegates, staff, and esteemed guests, my name is Daniel Zhu, and I serve as the director of the Business Committee for the 18th iteration of CAHSMUN. My experience of this iteration has been no doubt one with mixed feelings. This is my last directorship of my high school journey, and due to unfortunate circumstances, it was held virtually over Zoom. However, that does not take away from the unforgettable experience that took place over this weekend. I was able to listen to fruitful discussions over cryptocurrency regulations, Alibaba calling out Berkshire Hathaway for their change in stance, and a standstill from both blocs due to a 3-3 split, which resulted in neither resolutions being passed. Thank you to the delegates in the Business Committee for making this my last directorship a truly unforgettable experience. I would also like to use this opportunity to thank my two chairs, Tianlin Sun and Sophia Wei, for their excellent support. Tianlin, you're an absolute beast in everything you do, and I'm beyond grateful to have been able to meet you. I wish you all the best with your startup, and I can't wait to visit you in California. Sophia Wei, although you were gone for 2 committee sessions, I appreciate the support that you gave me when I presented you my rant. I hope that you were able to learn from Tianlin and my experience, and I hope that you have further success in Model UN. I truly couldn't have asked for a more supportive and interesting DISEC team. With that being said, I would like to now announce the award winners. Just as a reminder, an award is by no means a representation of how you did as a delegate. You all worked hard, and that's what you should be all proud of. For Best Delegate, we have Barclays. For Outstanding Delegate, we have the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. For honorable mention, we have JP Morgan Chase. Once again, I'd like to thank all the delegates for their hard work, my chairs for their support, and the CAHSMUN Secretariat team for making this all a reality. Until next time.
I would now like to call up the dais of the UN Women.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David, and I've had the distinct privilege of serving as the director of the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, or UN Women for short. Over the past few days, our committee debated 2 topics: workplace violence against women and reproductive health. During these topics, I was constantly amazed by delegates' composure and eagerness to debate during committee sessions. All delegates contributed something unique to the committee and were extremely adaptable to every circumstance that was thrown at them. From the fruitful discussions about structurally reforming education around contraceptives to the productive, unmoderated caucuses working on resolution papers, delegates in UN Women were able to carefully navigate the world of diplomacy while also taking the initiative to further their own learning. On behalf of the DISEC team, thank you, delegates, for making CAHSMUN 2022 an interesting experience, despite it being online. I also want to give a special thank you to my 2 chairs, Katrina and Lena, and to my hardworking Flex staff, Kieran and Prod. UN Women would not be possible without your dedication and professionalism. Delegates, I can confidently say after 5 committee sessions that you have all learned and grown as debaters, negotiators, and most importantly, leaders. I hope your experience in UN Women is just the first step of many that you will undertake to become the leaders of our next generation. With all this being said, I'll now be moving on to awards. Please remember that awards are not a measure of your success as a delegate over the past 3 days, and that regardless of the outcome of the awards, you should all be proud of your growth. Nevertheless, best position paper goes to Greece, honorable mention goes to Finland, outstanding delegate goes to Canada, and best delegate goes to South Africa. Thank you.
I would now like to call up the dais of the United Nations Security Council.
Good afternoon, delegates, sponsor teachers, staff, and secretariat. My name is Richard Min, and I have had the pleasure to serve as the director of the United Nations Security Council for CAHSMUN 2022. I still remember sitting in front of my computer 357 days ago, restlessly awaiting the UNSC director's speech. Now here I am, one iteration of CAHSMUN later, making that same speech. From writing backgrounders to designing the morning crisis to meeting our wonderful delegates, every step of this journey has been a new experience and one that I'm extremely grateful for. Without further ado, I'd like to thank my chairs Ahmed and Isabella for ensuring that all committee sessions flowed splendidly. I'd also like to thank the Secretariat team for making this conference a reality, and especially the substantive team for guiding me through my first directorship. Last but not least, I'd like to thank each and every UNSC delegate for trying their hardest to fulfill their diplomatic roles, even though that diplomacy translated to over 10 right of replies and many vetoed resolutions. And now for the most important part. I'd like to remind delegates that while we do give awards for exemplary performance in committee sessions, they do not go beyond this weekend, nor do they represent your ability, potential, or value. Whether you won an award or not matters much less than where you will go next, and I'm sure that your career will blossom after CAHSMUN 2022. Whatever the result, let this experience encourage you to reach higher skies. And now, Best Position Paper goes to the delegate of the United Kingdom, Outstanding Delegate goes to the delegate of China, and Best Delegate goes to the delegate of Russia. Again, thank you all, and best of luck in your future endeavors.
I would now like to call up the dais of the Joint Crisis Committee.
Good afternoon, sponsor teachers, delegates, and distinguished guests. My name is Joshua Dar Santos, and it was my distinct pleasure to serve as the Crisis Overlord for the Joint Crisis Committees at CAHSMUN 2022. This year, delegates were thrusted into the tumultuous times of the Great Northern War of 1700, with all of its intricacies on both the political and military fields. Whether it was the King of Poland switching blocks because his original bloc wished to depose him, or the Swedish bloc's constant need to split up their army groups, this year's JCC was definitely one to remember. However, none of this would be possible without both of the DISE teams that were beside me the entire way. Armand and Andrew, you two are two of my best friends, and your efforts within the committee room showed exactly why. Your dedication to this conference and Model UN in general are heroic, and this experience will be one that I will not soon forget. Annie, John, Jasper, and Patrick, your pristine chairing abilities allowed all directives and debate to run smoothly, and for that, I have eternal gratitude for making my job just a little bit easier. With that being said, the moment all of you have been waiting for, awards. First, the Coalition Bloc's awards will be presented by Andrew Liu, followed by the Swedish Bloc, presented by Armand Jaffer.
Thank you, Josh. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Liu, and I have had the distinct pleasure of serving as the director of the Coalition Bloc for the Joint Crisis Committees at the 18th iteration of Canadian High School's Model United Nations. This past weekend, myself, Jasper He, and Annie Wang have seen this group of enthusiastic delegates truly shine, including with the Russian foreign minister's penchant for bloodshed, the Tsar of Russia's obsession with overthrowing the Polish king, and everyone's joint passion for making the dais dizzy with over 200 directives passed, many of which were longer than actual resolution papers. Together, the Coalition Bloc delved into nuanced, exciting, and suspenseful discussions on the ultimate fate of Europe. From the surprise defection of the King of Poland to the Swedish Bloc, to the Prussian king demoting his own prime minister mid-conference, I can confidently say that the entire dais was surprised, entertained, and above all, pleased with how passionate and creative our delegates were. You should all be proud of your performances over this weekend. Of course, I'm also incredibly grateful for my staff team. To my chair, Jasper, thank you so much for being present with us. Your gentle-mannered smile and kind disposition were constant, even when directives became overwhelming. To my other chair, Annie, your fantastic chairing and steady chairman skills were undoubtedly the backbone of the committee. Everyone in the Coalition Bloc brought an enthusiasm and excitement that surpassed my initial expectations. With that being said, even among this pool of exceptional delegates, there are a few individuals that we would like to recognize. The awards are as follows. The honorable mention is awarded to Yemelyan Ukraintsev, the Russian foreign minister. Outstanding Delegate is awarded to Frederick William I, the King of Prussia and Elector of Brandenburg. And finally, Best Delegate is awarded to Johann von Wartenberg, the Prussian Prime Minister. Congratulations to you all. Now, I would like to pass things off to Armand from the Swedish bloc.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon, delegates, sponsor teachers, fellow staff, and secretariat members. My name is Armand Jaffer, and I have had the distinct honor of serving as the director of the Swedish bloc of the Joint Crisis Committees at the 18th iteration of Canadian High School's Model United Nations. Over the course of the past 72 hours, representatives of the Swedish Empire and her allies have sought to maintain Swedish hegemony in Europe, resisting numerous assaults and attacks from the members of the coalition bloc. Through crafty directives, eloquent speeches, and well-thought-out battle plans, members of our bloc navigated the tumultuous times of the Great Northern War and have left their own personal mark on history. Over the duration of the conference, the DISEC was impressed by the ingenuity and creativity of the delegates. From the collaborative skills of the English and Swedish statesmen to the political vitality of the Polish noblemen and the fierce negotiation abilities of the Swedish generals, the staff were amazed by your passion for crisis. Finally, I am eternally grateful for my staff team, with whom this committee would not be the same. To John, thank you for your quick thinking and technological expertise. I appreciate your dedication in spite of the consistent Zoom difficulties. To Patrick, I was amazed by your adaptability, friendliness, and comprehensive feedback. To Sakura, thank you for your perseverance in light of difficult circumstances and your willingness to contribute to the committee. Although all delegates should be commended for their participation and rewarded for their courage, energy, and commitment, we must now recognize those who left an indelible mark on the weekend's proceedings and acted as leaders during debate. The awards are as follows. The honorable mention is awarded to the Ottoman Foreign Minister, Rami Mehmed Pasha. Outstanding delegate is awarded to the King of Sweden, Charles XII. And finally, Best Delegate is awarded to Polish nobleman Stanislaw. Thank you all for a fast-paced, exhilarating, and above all, fun weekend.
I would now like to call up the dais of the Extemporary Crisis Committee.
The sakura fall, so no joy rings through the streets. Chrysanthemums bloom. Hello, sponsor teachers, staff, secretariat, and delegates. My name is Richard Chen, and I had the distinct honor of serving as the director of the Extemporary Crisis Committee at CAHSMUN 2022. Our topic this year was the Japanese Imperial Court, the ascension of Emperor Mitsuhito, 1867. Over the weekend, we discussed the important topics of reunifying and centralizing Japan, abolishing the feudal system, and incredibly complex guerrilla warfare strategies despite your technological and numerical superiority to the shogunate forces. Delegates, I would like to commend you for your passion, dedication, and effort. Despite the fact that you received your positions, portfolios, and backgrounder only 30 minutes before the crisis began, you were able to adapt accordingly and present wonderfully eloquent speeches. There were so many wonderful and hilarious moments throughout this weekend that I will never forget. From Iwakura Tomomi's best-selling autobiographies and memoirs, the creation of the Akatsuki newspaper service, no inspiration taken from Naruto at all, flamboyant assassination directives, and brazen press releases. And of course, the Imperial Court's seemingly endless fascination with the endless wisdom of the Emperor's divine haikus. Of course, I could not have done this without my two amazing chairs, Megan and Talia. Thank you so much for your wonderful chairing, sophisticated adjectives, and cheery and positive attitudes despite my blatant lack of sleep. ECC would not be the same, nor run as successfully if it weren't for the two of you. And now, for the part where I'm sure you have all been waiting for. To be honest, in all my directing experiences, the decision process for the ECC was by far, undoubtedly the most difficult. You were all such amazing delegates, and if I could, I would give you all an award for your outstanding performance this weekend. But despite my efforts to negotiate for more awards to give out, I'm unfortunately only limited to giving out 3 awards. Without further ado, Here are the awards. Honorable mention goes to Omura Masujiro. Outstanding delegate goes to Katsura Kogoro. And the best delegate goes to Okubo Toshimichi. Congratulations to you all, and thank you for making the ECC so fun. I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, and remember, Ten no Heka, Banzai. Thank you all.
I would now like to call up the dais of the Historical Crisis Committee.
Dear delegates, staff, secretariat, and sponsor teachers. My name is Owen Hu, and I have had the distinct and unforgettable privilege of staffing the Historical Crisis Committee for CAHSMUN 2022. Initially, I was worried about staffing such a small committee, but the delegates packed in enough intrigue, drama, romance, battle, and downright chaos for a committee twice its size. Because of our delegates' passion and enthusiasm, there was never a dull moment in the committee. We saw a chicken crisis, the invention of the hot air balloon, an extramarital affair, and a new marriage, all in the span of a few days that went by all too quickly. Thank you, delegates, for being the best group that the dais could have asked for. Each and every single one of you let your creativity and intellect shine in a way that was totally unique to you. Lastly, thank you, Maria, for dedicating your efforts in directing and making this committee the success that it was.
And of course, I have to mention the two people who made this committee a success, our wonderful chairs, Justin and Owen. Justin, thank you for your constant support and enthusiasm throughout the conference. Your creative, sometimes brutally honest descriptions of speeches kept moderated caucus fun. Your attentiveness and kindness is appreciated by all of us. Owen, although you were thrown into committee at the last minute, you landed on your speech and made an invaluable contribution. Thank you for your lending your expertise when I was overwhelmed by directives and being a constantly dedicated chair. Thank you both for laughing at my jokes, helping me with big decisions, and being understanding when I faltered. And thanks to all of you, delegates and chairs, for making my first directing experience so fantastic. I cannot believe how lucky I am to have such a great group of people who made this experience the most fulfilling of my Model UN career. Now that we're done with the sappiness, time to get to what everyone is waiting for, awards. Now I know that this is cliche, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't blown away by each and every one of you. You are all incredibly unique, strong delegates, and I hope that you continue in your Model UN career. With that being said, here are the award winners. Best Position Paper goes to Alexandra Hamilton. Outstanding Delegate goes to Samuel Adams, and Best Delegate goes to Benjamin Franklin. Thank you so much for your participation.
I would now like to call up the dais of the Fictional Crisis Committee.
Delegates, my name is Angela Tian, and I have had the pleasure of serving as a director for the Fictional Crisis Committee of this year's CAHSMUN conference. To say that my experience has been eye-opening would be an understatement. From directive after directive of ingenious ideas, to the diplomacy each delegate embodied during each moderated caucus, I have had the pleasure of witnessing a truly extraordinary group of young leaders work together to quite literally save the world. I'll never forget the amnesiac Harry Hart, how he kept forgetting Poppy Adams' name, or Agent Brandy being wrongfully accused of being quote-unquote sus, and thus unceremoniously ejected from the committee. Truly, delegates, I thank you for making my experience directing the Fictional Crisis Committee a memorable one. I'd also like to take this time to thank my fellow staff members, Mia, Fred, Darren, and Harry. I couldn't have done it without your help. Mia, your humor was always on point, and I'll never forget the little prank you managed to pull on our delegates during the first committee session. Fred and Darren, I can't thank you enough for stepping in and helping us run our committee when we needed it most. And Harry, thank you for your chairman expertise. I couldn't have asked for a better dais team. With that being said, I will now announce the award winners. Just as a reminder, an award is by no means a representation of how well you did as a delegate. You all worked hard, and that's what you should be proud of. For Best Delegate, we have Eggsy, aka Galahad. For Outstanding Delegate, we have Merlin.
For honorable mentions, we have Agent Brandy. And for best position paper, we have Harry Hart, formerly Galahad. Once again, I would like to thank all the delegates for their hard work. I now leave you with one last thing to remember. Manners maketh man.
I would now like to call up the dais of the International Press Corps.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ben Kang, and it has been my distinct honor to serve as the director of the International Press Corps. Whether representing the New York Times, CNN, or the Globe and Mail, delegates in the IPC this year wound their way through 9 unique CAHSMUN committee offerings, connecting themselves with the exciting stories, experiences, and events that undergirded each minute of debate at CAHSMUN 2022. Delegates of the IPC, before the conference, I told you to think of your job as a record keeper so that when delegates look back on this conference in time and think of all the great memories, hopefully many shall remain cataloged in Word, posted in articles, and locked in time on the IPC webpage. I told you to strive for this goal, and I genuinely believe that you have achieved such promise. Whether it was the CNN's coverage of, quote, a sussy, devious plan, end quote, when referring to the EAS's money laundering prevention system titled Sussy Baka, or the Globe and Mail's coverage of the clashing blocks in the World Health Organization, or Fox News's passionate articles continually deriding the American delegation in the UNSC as the, quote, unhinged Biden administration, end quote. Delegates of the IPC, you did it all, and you should be proud of all your work. To Kevin, a man with boundless enthusiasm and endless articles of clothing with a green letter D, thank you for your support. I really couldn't have made it without you. And lastly, to what everyone has been waiting for, the awards. We'd just like to remind all delegates that awards are by no means a measure of your individual success. However, we'd just like to acknowledge a few delegates for their contributions. So with that in mind, outstanding delegate goes to Fox News and best delegate goes to CNN. Congratulations to you all, and we hope you had a great time in the IPC.
I would now like to invite our Secretary General, Kobe Chen, to deliver closing remarks.
Good afternoon, sponsor teachers, delegates, and honored guests. A mere 48 hours ago, I was speaking to you all at opening ceremonies, announcing my excitement for this iteration of CAHSMUN. And now, in the blink of an eye, I'm speaking to you once again to wrap it up. All of you have navigated your own ways through debate, discussion, and discovery this weekend. From heated discussions on the Somali Civil War in UNSC, to a deluge of articles written about all sorts of committee drama in IPC, or even finding out what your position was for the first time in ECC, I saw a level of zeal and vivacity in every speech given, and that warms my heart. So to all delegates, I want to say thank you. Thank you for speaking up and listening close. Thank you for leading discussions and offering your support to peers. I'm more confident than ever knowing our future is led by students like you. Whether this was your first stop or last destination in Model UN endeavors, I'm incredibly excited to see what you'll accomplish long after you've left your respective committee rooms. It's principle to recognize that this conference wouldn't have happened without a great number of different people, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your help. To our sponsors, thank you for your generous support. This year, we offered thousands of dollars in financial aid to students from all across the globe. With your donations, we were able to keep MUN accessible for all students, regardless of their background. To our chaperones and sponsor teachers, thank you for all you do. Finding new and creative ways to keep preparing your students virtually, taking time out of your busy lives to watch them progress over this weekend, your support is the backbone of what makes this conference possible. And students, take a moment to thank your teachers. They deserve it. To our board of directors, thank you for your direction. Thank you for answering our stupid Slack questions and passing down your wisdom. Even years after your own high school Model United Nations experiences, your dedication helps keep this beloved activity alive. However, the most important on this list of thank yous extends to the people I'm beyond privileged to call my team. A Secretary General's most important task is to assemble a Secretariat team, and I can wholeheartedly say that this one had left its mark. I not only had the honor of working with the people who make up this team, they are my friends, my CAHSMUN family. BJ, you are nothing short of a genius. Your ability to create magic from scratch is still something I struggle to understand because the technological side of this conference wouldn't have existed without you. And my God, with this experience being virtual, that means nothing would have existed without you. Your humor is rib tickling and your ambition is amazing. I know you're out here with your startups that will make you incredibly rich and famous one day, but your continued dedication to CAHSMUN is what I'm truly grateful for. Steph, you've made this experience feel so easy. Your consistent friendship and your lightheartedness is exactly what this high-stress activity needs. I know you downplay it sometimes, but you do so much work revitalizing our Foundations program. The work you do not only pushes CAHSMUN forward, but you've sent shockwaves into our greater community in terms of increasing education and accessibility. Thank you for teaching me your bizarre lexicon of animal sounds and for laughing with me when things get too awkward. Thank you for being an amazing friend. Neil, I can already envision you going so far. You're a fantastic Korean barbecue cook, but you've also created one of the most elegant registration systems from the ground up with so much creativity and wit. The fact that you've sacrificed your Latin test to spend time calling sponsor teachers speaks volumes, because I know firsthand how scary Miss Mori is. Your commitment to this conference and your strong sense of direction perfectly embodies what it means to learn today and lead tomorrow. As cheesy as it sounds, I have no doubt that you'll push the boundaries of CAHSMUN next year in whatever capacity you take on. Emily, I may not know a lot about you, but I certainly know that you express an immense amount of care, that you care about other people's time, about the quality of your work, about the people you're working with. Even with the endless list of things you have to format or make into an Instagram post or write captions for, you never let anything slip through the cracks. From working alongside you at the aquarium to working alongside you at this conference, I'm inspired by your quiet and caring nature. Thank you for bringing that thoughtfulness to this team. William, your sarcasm is almost as sharp as your attention to detail. You may jokingly threaten to quit daily, and I threaten to fire you daily, but I know your dedication to this conference runs deep. I see the document histories. I see that you're always up late into the night editing grammar mistakes and fixing citations. I know that your knowledge about global affairs and social acuity is exactly what our substantive team needed. Without you, we wouldn't have our thorough backgrounders, riveting crisis plans, and in turn, our well-prepared delegates. Austin, despite the ups and downs, I'm proud of all of the work you've done this year. Your heart is truly in the right place, and your sleepless nights must also not go unnoticed. Thank you for sharing your expertise, not only in substantive related matters, but in helping out with other aspects of the conference. In running an event in such an unexpected year, your flexibility was exactly what we counted on, so thank you. Darren, your ear-to-ear grin and your logistical mastermind was what ensured this conference ran in the first place. Your attitude is so buoyant and infectious, it made our lowest moments this year feel almost so positive. I'll never forget the way that you and Cindy ran to the dollar store to buy balloons and confetti for the Horizon Social. I think that encapsulates the way you carry your load. You go out of your way to liven up Model UN and bring a sense of playful problem solving that makes CAHSMUN CAHSMUN. Thank you. Athena, my chief. Where do I even begin? You simply have the biggest brain out of anyone I know, and I'm not just talking about your insane physics grades. CAHSMUN is your life and blood, and you are its. You're the compass that points our substantive team in the right direction. You're the string that keeps our projects so tightly wound together. The hours and hours you spend sifting through backgrounders, chasing the staff team, revolutionizing our committee's program, sorting out Zoom links, the list goes on and on and on. I wouldn't know where we would be without you or the time that you have put in. I know I was technically your boss this year, but you were the one that motivated me to work harder and think outside the box. I still look back and laugh at the fact that you didn't even think you'd be hired for committees, because you've been serving as one of the most inspiring and powerful chiefs of staff of all time. Cindy, oh my God. There is no world, not in any alternate universe or alternate timeline, in which I could have asked for a better Director General. You're not only the best Codenames teammate, but my crutch this year. You pulled through when I couldn't. You had an answer when I didn't. You figured it out instantly when I would spend hours thinking about it. I'm so grateful that you held me accountable and helped me hold others accountable. You act and speak with so much professionalism, but your ability to make horrifying jokes with me was also beyond compare. Cindy, I can't imagine anyone else sweating with me when difficult decisions had to be made. With your help, we could get through any obstacle we face, no matter how difficult it seemed. I owe you like 10 stolen chicken nuggets and 100 stolen fries, but I owe you infinitely more for all of the work you've put into CAHSMUN 2022. It's simply amazing. Thank you. When I sat down to write my application for CAHSMUN 2021, I had no idea what the next 2 years was about to give. Everyone always told me that serving on the Secretariat is an experience you'll relish for a lifetime. And right now, I barely remember what happened in the hours of planning and countless meetings that took place in the past few months. All the people I met throughout my whole MUN journey, however, is what I do remember. I do remember, to a T, the moments where I belly laughed playing Codenames with you all, being delusional at 3 a.m. with you all, and screaming as we almost set Yukaku on fire with you all. This was the perfect ending to my high school MUN experience. Like I said before, these are the people that make up not just a team, but friends, family even. So to you, delegates and staff, I implore you to take a risk and apply for the 2023 CAHSMUN Secretariat team on our website at CAHSMUN.org/apply. This past year has been a roller coaster. The twists and turns were dizzying. The drops were beyond exhilarating, and the trek up to the top of the hill was as much anxiety-inducing as it was gratifying. As we all go our separate ways, as you seek your own next adventure in Model UN, I'd like to thank you for making CAHSMUN 2022 such a success. I'd be more than happy to ride again. With that being said, I now declare debate suspended until the 19th iteration. Godspeed.